Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm rocking my Cobra Kai gear, as I often do. So here we are. This is 2020 into 21 and 22 as well, a little bit. The 22 so far, because we're in the middle of it. But there's not tons to talk about. There's not as much drama to talk about. There's a little bit, but not as much drama. Granted, 2018 and 2019 didn't have too much. But there's a couple things to cover. There's one thing in 2018 I forgot to mention that, was some drama. That was kind of unexpected drama, but it was drama nonetheless. I'm saying drama a lot. Dramamine. That's a medicine that makes you sleepy. Anyway, I'm just having a cinnamon muffin, which you can get at Safeway. Their bakery's pretty good. These are solid, very good. You can't eat too many of them. They're very sweet, but it's a good breakfast to start off the day. Also, I have a sore, or I guess it would be sprained lumbar. So I'm laying on a heating pad while doing this video because, I'm in pain and stuff. Yay. Also, I feel like I'm getting a sinus headache. So good times for the weekend. I actually took the night off work just because it was hard to get around the previous night. And I just was like, man, I got to take some time to rest. So I'm doing that, taking some time to rest. Got my tabs taken care of, paid the rent. I need to get a new phone later. And I still got to write some sketch stuff. But that's enough about my nonsense that's going on in the world. Let's talk about, we're going to 2020 here. So anyway, 2020, we did do the Fortress show again. That was our only show in the Grotto that year. And it went pretty well. We had George was in there and Christina, who were our newest members. Zoe, who was another member, had joined, but only got to come to one rehearsal and then said she had too much on her plate. So, okay, that's fine, whatever. But the show went pretty well. We added the thing that Reese's mom had mentioned about having two scenes continue as opposed to just having one continue for it. So, an update's available. Thank you, computer. I don't care. Sorry about that. So we did that, and it actually was a pretty good show. I thought everybody did a great job, and it was a lot of fun. And then we actually had gotten a chance to participate in this thing at the University Heights, which Mike Christensen, one of the founders of Jet City, had posted a thing. And we're like, you basically had a 20-minute set, and you work with, 3 other groups. I thought, that sounds cool. That's kind of like, stuff that Pocket used to do. So it's like, so it was cool. We got to go out. It ended up being just me, Diana, Josh, and Anna. And we just did a 20-minute Fortress. And Sweaty D was there, and so was Karski. And then a couple of students that Michael was teaching. And we had a great time. Like I said, it was at that point in the pandemic where people were starting to get scared, so they weren't coming out. So we didn't have a big crowd, really, so that was okay. But we pretty much just entertained each other, but it was great to see Karski and Sweaty D again. They're as funny as ever. And we had a good show. It was sadly the last show we got to do in 2020. We were supposed to do our March Laughter show the next week, but then more restrictions happened. I remember I was at a soccer class in Ballard, and they literally said, we have to end class. They're shutting us down. I'm like, well, that was all right then. So I pretty much just cleaned up and went home for soccer, and that was really the start of pandemic season, as I'm calling it. It's pandemic season. Otherwise known as 2020, the world's gone to hell. All right. So there's not a lot to talk about in 2020 in terms of shows, obviously. There's a little bit of drama to talk about, but we'll get to that. But we and Anna did start a YouTube channel, Adam and Anna, which was a goal for a long time. We had set up a channel called Sketchpad, and we had planned to do stuff with it, but then we got all those monthly shows, so it's a little freaking time. Something I'd still like to eventually do more with Turbo Turkey too, in addition to doing Adam and Anna. But that's you gotta balance things out, guys. Anyway, that turned out pretty good. We enjoyed ourselves doing that. And eventually I started this other channel, Turbo Turkey Productions. Actually, out of accident, it was like we had to do a video for the GoFundMe for Panoramic, which no one donated to. Subtle dig. Anyway. But like I remember I had to set a YouTube channel to do that, and we didn't have Adam on it yet, so this channel kind of was that. So then it was just kind of dormant for several months. Because I was like, I didn't really want a channel really that badly at the time. Or did I have the time? So anyway, we started the channel. The channel went good. So let me go ahead and flash back 2018 real quick. 2018 was when the Me Too movement was happening in Hollywood, and in the world. So a lot of a lot of creeps were called out, and a lot of male celebrities were apologizing for past behavior and things like that. So following suit, a lot of males on social media and Facebook were also saying out apologies if they had ever been that way. So I followed suit as well. And while I can honestly say that I've never, obviously never would or have sexually assaulted anyone. Excuse me. I still wanted to cover my bases because there's so many variations of that because you think assault, you think of like raping someone, which just to get a little spoiler warning here, but not spoiler warning, but whatever. Anyway, sensitivity warning. But sometimes sexual assault can just be like groping someone or slapping someone in the ass or or forcibly kissing someone, whatever the case. That's assault as well. Which growing up with a lot of 80s movies, you just thought that was okay, probably. Not blaming the movies, but just saying, dated stuff. So anyway, so I thought, okay, well, at the very least, from everything in my memories, I'm like, well, I don't think there was ever really a situation where I was, either it was a misunderstanding or it was a consensual situation. But I thought, what, just in case, maybe someone remembers something differently, try to be respectful, so I sent an apology out, which was fine, no big deal. But then I logged in later, and Sarah Harris, who, of course, had left with Jillian and Reagan, had left the group and all that, had posted, yeah, you should apologize, you guys were so horrible to us, and blah, 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 and I'm just like, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? It had been like 5 years, I think, actually. Yeah, 5 years since they had left the group. We had buried the hatchet. We had, put it behind us, as far as I could tell. It's like Reagan had unfriended me on Facebook eventually, which I was like, we were never that good of friends, so okay, that's fine, whatever. I tried to be cordial, but it is what it is. It's no big deal. But I was planning on going to see a show that Sarah and Jillian were putting on in December, but it got moved that year. It got moved up. But once she posted that, I was like, that's out the window. And then she immediately sends me a message saying, oh, I'm so sorry. I was just, can we meet for a drink? And I'm just like, no. It's like, I was very upset about that because here I am trying to post this positive message and just saying, hey, look, if there's ever anything that you felt we were out of line on. And she's trying to compare, like, what women have gone through to us not writing female characters right. Or that they were treated as lesser or something like that. That's not the same fucking thing. The Me Too movement is about calling out people for being rotten people in terms of, like, assault and things like that. It's not about, well, I didn't get enough good parts and or our women parts for bimbos and Bond girls and things like that. It's not about that at all. So yeah, I was very upset, and Anna even suggested that I block her, which I did eventually. But first I had a kind of a dialogue with her, and I, since she was calling me out, I called her out for not coming to Michael's memorial, which she, excused and da-da-da, and says, oh, well, you need to get over that, and da-da-da, and I'm like, yeah, that's true, but, like, you need to get over this. It's like, and I also reached out to Jillian just to make sure that she wasn't still upset, and she says, no, that was 5 years ago. But she also let me know that Sarah had never gotten over it and was constantly upset about it. And it's just like at the same time, it's like, yeah, I get it. It was upsetting for us too. But, like, we moved on. We learned from it. We wrote characters for females a lot better. And I said, like I said, when I started out, I had watched a lot of classic SNL with, Jane, you ignorant slut, and things like that, And that's the thing. And I had women in the group before that never had a problem with anything we were writing. So it had never been an issue before they brought that up. Once they brought that up, and once Lara brought it up, it's like, okay, we need to do better. And that was fine. There was no real issue there. And I thought, the thing is, when they left the group, just to recap, when they left the group, they said, this is only professional, this is nothing personal. But, then, like I said, me and Josh got snubbed by Reagan, and then, Reagan unfriended me, and then, in this thing with Sarah, it's just like, well, if it wasn't personal, then why are you taking it so personally? Because if it was just professional, it's just like, oh, well, we just didn't work together well, but, we still like you, we're still friends. And that's what you constantly say, we're friends. I'm like, well, friends actually come to me sort of shows and actually get together and have a drink or something once in a while, or have some kind of social interaction, not just, well, I'm your friend because we're on Facebook. Well, there's lots of people. I'm my Facebook friend that I've never either met in person ever or I met once. You know, that more or less makes us Facebook friends, not really friends that would get together and, celebrate birthdays or something. The point is, overall, I just felt like she was out of line. And, whereas she might have said that we were in the wrong at that time, she's in the wrong now. Now, eventually we did talk on social media after I blocked her and she deleted me and all that stuff. And we kind of cleared there. I said, look, if you really want to meet for a drink, we can, hash it out. And says, oh, let's just put it behind us. And I was always your friend and da-da-da. So I don't know. I mean, who knows at this? I haven't talked to her since then. I hope it's finally behind us. I really do. I don't wish any of them ill will, really. It was what it was. Things didn't work out. Life goes on. And we've had plenty of females in the group since then, and Anna's in the group now. So it's like, I think we've grown and learned from it. So it was just very upsetting because it's like, I already have. I'll fully admit this, and I've recently kind of revealed this too, but like, it was really, I kind of have, I hate to say PTSD because that's such a serious thing, but like, anytime someone leaves the group now, like, leaves, even if it's because they just have too busy of a schedule and things like that, instantly my mind still goes to that moment. Instantly my mind says, oh shit, what did we do? Oh shit, what did I say? Oh shit, what happened in a sketch? Or did we not do, And it's not, and like 90% of the time, it's really not the case. It's not anything personal. It's not anything that happened that caused them to leave, At least that they've been upfront about, because no one has ever said, hey man, you know what, you were out of line, or I'm really upset about this, or da-da-da, So, but there's still that moment in the back of my head, of like, oh crap, what did we do? Oh crap, what did we do? But it's like, sometimes it really is just that they just had too much on their plate and they got busy. Which is fair, I get that stuff happens. But at the same time, it's like, I've been trying to encourage people who audition for us to just be like, look, look at your schedule before you join us. Because we're doing shows at least 8, 9 shows a year, in addition to anything we do outside of that. So it's like, if you really can't commit to this, it's probably ain't going to work out. And that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I just think that, like, it's frustrating because you're like, we really want to work with you. We want to have new people in the group. And, I think having new people keeps people fresh in terms of their skills and stuff, too. So, like, when it happens now, since then, I've always had these kind of, like, well, why are they leaving? Why are they leaving? Is it something I said? Is it something I did? Is it something someone else did? And most of the time it's not the case, but because of that, the way that situation went down, I think maybe I did have a little bit of, like, I don't want to say PTSD, but it's something that anytime someone leaves a group now, it's like, ah, crap. Unless it's something where obvious, like Alex and his wife had a baby, so he's stepped away from Turbo Turkey at the moment. But there's obviously nothing personal there. Other people have moved and things like that. So most of the time it's not even a situation of like, well, this person said this in a sketch, or this person, or I didn't get a role I wanted or something. And just to reflect back on it, if they'd just been a little more patient, we would have gotten the things they wanted. We could have talked to Josh about the weed smoking, before rehearsals. We could, because the thing is, me just saying it to him, because we were friends, he wasn't taking that seriously. But had we all collectively as a group said, hey Josh, can you please not smoke weed before rehearsal, so you're not stoned and all that stuff at rehearsal, no big deal. We probably would have nipped that in the bud right then and there. And, we all had positions that we were going to do. It was just, like I said before, we had the situation with Diana. We had the situation with Josh. We had to put a show together that was cut down to an hour because we got double booked with the band. There was a lot going on. So it wasn't that I was ignoring what they wanted to do. It was that, can you just let us get through this show? Then we can re-collaborate and say, okay, here's things we need to work on and have more. I thought we were going to have more meetings, is what I thought. And we were supposed to. And then all of a sudden it was just like, we're leaving. So to me, that just comes down to that. It is what it is. It's the past. I said I'm fine with Julian now. There's no real issues there. I haven't talked to Sarah in a while. Last I knew, we were cool. So Reagan, well, whatever. But yeah, it was just something that I wanted to bring up because I forgot about it in the 2018 video. But I just remember it was very upsetting because I was just like, why are we bringing this up again? Like, are we, if we're gonna put it behind us, then let's put it behind us and be done with it. Or if you want to meet and talk about it and just hash out what upset you the most about it or whatever, great. I'm happy to listen. It just was at that point I was like, I don't want to hear this crap. And I don't know for sure, but Jessica Severance, who worked with us on Electric Man and played Nina, unfriended me on Facebook. Now, I don't know when she unfriended me on Facebook. I don't know if it was around the time that Sarah posted that message. And I thought, well, maybe we only worked together one time. Maybe she just was like, oh, we're good friends, whatever. So people drop people on Facebook or they get off of Facebook and all that stuff, which is fine. But then I noticed I just have to check real quick, and she's still friends with Anna and Josh. So it's like, okay, so my theory in that is that possibly she saw Sarah's message, immediately took it as, oh, well, Adam's a sexual assault or some shit like that, even though she didn't have any facts or anything like that, and unfriended me. I would hope that's not the case. I hope there was nothing else that I said or did that caused her to unfriend me, but, you never know sometimes. These are situations that happen. I just try to do the best I can. I try to be nice to everybody. I try to be listening and give people their platform. If you want to say the platform, I don't sound like Brie Larson, but my platform. But no, I do my best to try to listen and make sure everybody's heard. It's something I've worked towards at Turbo Turkey, like not just being like, okay, here's what we're doing. Like I'll have things set, but I also am willing to be flexible and like, oh, what if we did this? What if we did this? Especially with sketches and things like that. So anyway, moving on from 2018, back in 2020. We'd been doing this show, Adam and Anna stuff, for several months. And Seattle Sketch Fest was going to do just like a video version. And they were going to do 4 weeks of like videos of either shows or of like, video sketches. And me and Anna, I had sent a couple in. One was our first very video where I joked about being a cannibal and all that stuff. Which we got a lot of reviews on, which is good. But and then I sent another one that I was the My Pillow guy, and all that stuff. And I didn't really hear anything back at first. So I was like, okay, whatever. But I thought, well, they must have got my video, so that's fine. And so then they had 4 weeks of shows. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to check this out. And I thought, well, maybe I want to check it out. Admittedly, selfishly, like, well, maybe one of our videos will pop up in here, so I'll watch this, and I'll still get some entertainment from the other groups performing. And there was definitely some very funny sketches in there. There were some very talented groups from around different cities and as well as Seattle. There was times where like a group would get like a lot of videos though, which kind of was like, why are you giving these guys so much? It is what it is. Anyway. So anyway, I watched 4 weeks of videos, and each week I would progressively get more like disappointed because I'm like, well, are we going to be in this thing or not? But it's truth to tell, in my mindset and think about it now, I'm like, well, if we haven't heard anything, we're probably not in it. I would like now I would just be like, yeah, no big deal. But it had been a very stressful year, in 2020, obviously, and not being able to get out there and perform and not be able to be on stage is something that I love doing. So anyway, after the 4th weeks of videos, I watched the entire thing and saw that we were not in it. So obviously, still having had some frustrations from previous years of not getting in Sketchfest and Turbo Turkey not getting in Sketchfest, and previous issues in terms of other things, in terms of like the sketch thing that I did that no one showed up for. So I had all this stuff in the back of my head for probably a year or so, and I think I just kind of like did the smartest thing you could possibly do, which is to do a video at 3 a.m. ranting about the community, sketch community, and Sketchfest, and people in the community and all that. And then shared it on the sketch comedy page on Facebook. Totally a great idea. I definitely don't regret doing that at all. So anyway, let me just say though, with that video, it was wrong to call it Sketchfest in terms of like what they were doing, because as things happened out, they actually reached out to me after that and said, look, it was nothing personal. We're now, and they said we actually are going to do another one in the spring. We just had so many people submit stuff that we just had to, some stuff didn't make the cut, but we're going to do it. And so it was all water under the bridge with them. So that was good. So there's no heat with Seattle Sketchfest anymore. So there's no problems there. So it is what it is. Like I said, I regret the video in terms of calling them out and stuff like that. But let me say, as I've said before, there are some people, and like I said before, some people, not everybody. I said there were a lot of good people that were at the Pocket and Clayton Weller and things like that. Great people to work with, professional, fun to be around, all that stuff. But there were other times, especially with sketch comedy groups, where like I've said before, how like don't even say good show to you, don't even like barely acknowledge your presence that you're there. It's just like, so that was kind of a little bit of what I was calling out too, was kind of like the attitudes sometimes of like, and some people are like, oh, you're just being arrogant. It's like, well, it's not about being arrogant. It's that my whole frustration was that we had done Sketchfest, once 2013, and then we did back-to-back 2016 and 2017. So the frustration there was that, like, well, suddenly now Linus Productions is taking over, and now suddenly we're not good enough to get in. And to be fair, what we submitted as a video may not have been what they were looking for, or wasn't as funny as it could have been. Valid points that I acknowledge now. We submitted this year for both Portland and Seattle. Portland's not going to add any more because we submitted late, so it's fine. And Seattle's, we don't know yet about Seattle. But either way, what happens, happens. If we don't get shows, we don't get shows. Whatever. But anyway, let me just comment on one thing, though. After I shared the video, one person commented, this one girl commented, and she was sympathetic, but also saying, well, take this time to focus on your group and focus on, doing everything, But this other guy, whose name I don't really remember or care to mention, decided to, the first part of his paragraph was just like, hey, this, it's been a pandemic, it's a crazy, they're doing a lot, we're all valid criticisms of the video, and I would have had no problem whatsoever with this guy if he had stopped at that first paragraph. But he just kept going. And then he started basically just like capitalizing. The point is to be funny. And he kept repeating that multiple times. Be funny. And while he's not wrong there, it's the condescending way in which he wrote it was just like funny, And then he says, oh, I saw Turbo Turkey and they weren't funny at all. I mean, comedy's subjective, but you guys weren't funny at all. And I've seen your channel and you guys aren't funny at all. And you know what? At the end of the day, what pissed me off with that guy, like I said, wasn't the first paragraph. Because you know what? I'll fully admit, the video was a dumb idea. I shouldn't have done it. It's one of those things my dad always says, sleep on it before you make decisions. Because otherwise it's going to bite you in the ass. And that has many times. My dad is wise in that. But my whole thing was like, if you just browbeat me, whatever. You want to say I deserve that? That's fine. But when you insult my group, when you insult the channel that my wife is on, then you've crossed the line with me. Because now you're not just going off on me, you're going off on good friends of mine and my wife. And so that's where I got really upset about that guy's comments. I remember I shared, I'm like, what do you guys think about this? And Josh was like, oh, well, he's not really doing that. I'm like, you obviously didn't read the whole paragraph, Josh. And I was actually very upset that Josh didn't back me up there. Although he says, I'm not really going against you. But I'm like, well, you kind of are. You kind of are, because this asshole was basically insulting not just me, but the entire group. That none of us are funny, and none of our sketches are funny, and da-da-da, Meanwhile, I saw his video, and I thought it was shit. But let's bottom line, I thought his video sucked. I didn't think it was funny. It wasn't something that I hadn't seen 20 times. So, yeah, you want to call it out, I'll call it out too. So, yeah. That guy kind of rattled me. And it wasn't that he rattled me for his criticism. It was rattled because he decided to bash my group and my wife. I said, you don't want to say, oh, I'm an asshole or I'm some egomaniac or something. Whatever. You don't know me. So, but, for me, it's like, don't insult my wife. Because my wife is hilarious. Don't insult Turbo Turkey because there's a lot of very talented people in that group. Jag has been in New York, taking second cities. Josh has done stand up. He's done a lot of stuff. He's done right. Just everybody in that group is very talented. Reese is very talented. Zoe and like a whole bunch of people in that group. George is very talented. So it's like there's so many funny people in that group that I'm proud to have in Turbo Turkey. So that was what set me off. If he had just ended at the first paragraph and not been the little needling funny thing, and he's not wrong. Yeah, the point is to be funny, but that comedy is subjective at the end of the day. So I might sit there and write a sketch that I think is fucking hilarious, and then we perform it and nobody laughs. Just like with stand up, it's the same way with stand up, and it's a frustrating thing. But even if they're not laughing, at least if they're engaged in the sketch, that's something that people, I think, overlook as well, because our sketch that we just did, people were very engaged. They were laughing a decent amount, but like they never felt like they were just like, God, is this over? It never felt like it was a drag for them to be there, which is good. And I did go back and watch an October show, and I would I'm like, okay, maybe I need to watch something that we've done. And I would watch and kind of listen and be like, okay, these people aren't really laughing at this sketch that much, So I'm like, okay, well, so I should have done this or I should have done that. So I was critical of my own stuff that, and I have been since then. Of like, oh, that didn't really work, or that didn't work, And that's the thing. That's how sketches go. That's how stand-up goes. Sometimes the audience doesn't get it. Sometimes it's just the audience. Sometimes that audience doesn't get it, and the other night, some other audience will think it's hilarious. So it just kind of depends. What you're dealing with there. Like I said, things moved on. There's no heat with Sketchfest. Most of the community hasn't blackballed me or nothing like that with Turbo Turkey, so that I know of. So it's all one under the bridge. And I take it as if it was just, it wasn't the right thing to do, but it was a very frustrating year for everybody. And I think a lot of stuff had built up in my head over that past year of frustrations with the sketch thing. Oh, that was the other thing. Is like, yeah, people who don't think you're funny, so they're not going to take your workshop. It's like, fuck you, So it's like this idea that, oh, well, you have to do this, or these people won't do it. That's like the same people who don't think that someone who has a bachelor's degree is qualified to teach you acting or improv or something. Fuck you, So anyway, that was the big drama of 2020. So anyway, we got into 2020. Wasn't too bad overall. I mean, 2020 sucked. But like, in terms of like moving on from it, we moved on from it. We were a part of their spring one, which they chose our My Pillow video where Anna played the bubonic plague and took him out, which was cool. And it was cool. The guy who was doing the video actually commented on that and said, yeah, I remember his comment was just like, I think My Pillow guy just holds the pillow up so that people remember who the hell he is. I'm like, that's funny. So yeah, there's no big deal there. So that's all one under the bridge. So back to 2021, we had done a lot of like Zoom improv meetings, which I admit, at first I was down with it, but there were times like it would just be a Sunday and I'd be like, I don't want to do this, I think it was just the mental capacity of being stuck at home. It's like, this is fun, okay, but it was just not as fun as being together. So anyway, after 4th of July, we did get together, had sort of a little powwow of sorts, or powwow's not the word. What is it where you all bring meals? Potluck, yeah. We sort of a potluck picnic type of thing in Josh's backyard. And then we had a huge heat wave, so we had to cancel some stuff. But that was cool because everybody came back. I talked to the Grotto. We ended up doing a show in August that year just because it was, why not? Let's do something. So we decided to do Grab Bag in August, and that was cool. There wasn't a ton of people there, but we still had a lot of fun. Then September, we were were we out of town yet? No. Yes. Me and Anna went out of town, so Josh and a couple of other guys did they did a short show. So we actually took a 2-week vacation to see my parents because we hadn't seen them since before the pandemic. So that was 2021. So that was cool, and we had a great vacation. It was a lot of fun. It was great to see people again and go home and stuff. So, and then October we did Halloween Hilarity again. We did kind of a hybrid show since we didn't have as much time and we had so many sketches. we moved a bunch of sketches to December, and then we had sort of a couple improv games and sketches. And that went pretty well. It was not as much rehearsal as I think we probably would have liked to have had, which was one of my goals for 2020 before everything happened, was to have more time for sketch shows to really hash things out and get the sketches to their best presentation, which we got to with the last sketch show. And then what else, Adam? So yeah, anyway, then November we did an Armando, which is basically like a long form where you have a monologue, starts it, and then you basically build scenes out of that monologue. And we did pretty good with that. It was actually a lot of fun. And then December came around, and we did our holiday extravaganza, which I called it Silent Night, Sketchy Night. This is sort of a take on the movie. And we did a full sketch show that time. I'd written another one with Doug Farnsworth in it, which was fun. We did a couple Christmas-based sketches. Some sketches really probably would have fit Halloween better, but it is what it is. But Anna had another dance one, which was bringing back Alex's Deadly Dancer character, and that was funny. And I did a Corn Pops sketch, which was a parody of those Corn Pops commercials. So that was a fun show. That's actually some of the stuff we used to submit for Sketchfest this year, because that was our most recent sketch show. So that was 2021. Not too bad. Obviously, I think we were very crunched because we had 5 months of shows, so there wasn't any kind of in-between break for a lot of them. So, and we took a vacation, so it is what it is. Then we got to 2022, which is where we're at now. So January happened, and I got fucking COVID. That really sucked. So I was out for a little bit, and then it wasn't too bad. After the second day, it was, I was pretty much just bored in the bedroom. But anyway, that was what it was. And then, let's see, before we did February Fortress, we had done auditions, and we had a whole 2 people show up. Adam King had shown up, and he had done stuff with Electric Man and stuff like that, and the Safeguard Society. And then this girl named Pearl showed up, and they were fine. Adam needed a little bit of work. He's actually in my class now, which is what I decided to do, because, Jag pointed out kind of a thing. It was just like, well, I'll get to that in a minute. But Pearl's very talented, and Pearl came and saw us. We did Cornucopia again. We did an Armando this time, and that was fun. Sweaty D was there again, and then we a couple other good groups too. And then we were supposed to do a 20-minute set, and then I misconstrued that the light was on, so I wrapped up the sketch, and we'd only been up there for 11 minutes. But we ended on as they said, we ended on a good line that got a laugh. So. Not a complete bust. And Pearl came to the show, so that was cool. And then Pearl did Fortress with us, which was a lot of fun. And then she wasn't able to do March Laughness or what am I saying? Oh yeah, Fortress was fun. We did Fortress and Armando. We did a half and half, so we called it a double feature. And that was fun. And then Jag pointed out, because there's a woman who had emailed and she couldn't make the auditions. And so I thought, okay, well, we'll just invite her to a rehearsal. And then she was just really a nice lady, but didn't understand the concept of cutting people off and continuing to talk and not feeding. And John got very frustrated about that. And he's like, "Are we just letting anybody in?" In terms of whether they're at our, I don't want to say at our level, but we've been working together a long time, so. If you don't have as much experience or you haven't done this in a while. So I offered her to join the class too. She decided she didn't want to do that. Okay, that's the prerogative. Adam King was more open to it, so he still came to a couple of rehearsals. But then before I got everything set up with the class, then we did March Laughness. That was fine. We had a depleted Pearl wasn't able to do that show. Actually, Fortress is about the only show Pearl did before she unfortunately had to bow out as well. Frustration. But she was very nice about it, so no, obviously, I told her, hey, the door's open. As I always say to anybody who leaves, the door's always open. So let us know. But at the same time, she just got too much on her plate, so fair enough. But then we did March Laughness, and that was pretty good. And that's kind of Jag's email was actually the catalyst for me to do the classes. And then April we were originally going to do a sketch show, And then Reese pointed out kind of like how frustrating it was that we kind of had to be cramped the last year. And at first I was kind of like, why didn't you make this sooner? But, so I'm like, okay, let's push it back to May. We were able to push it back to May. Or that was the plan. So we did a show. What would we do? April, we did a show. Reese had an improv idea where we would do like, we called it Turbo Turkey TV Dinner. So all these were like kind of TV type based games and stuff. That was really a good show. Reese emceed it for us and stuff, and did a pretty good job. So that was fun. And then May we were supposed to do our sketch show, our sketch Havoc show, but then Reese got the flu, so we couldn't do our sketches, so we ended up doing Grab Bag. Yeah. Let me talk about that show in a minute. But before I do that, the classes had started, as luck would have it, and I actually got a huge turnout, which was surprising, because like the previous times I tried doing workshop or classes, I got one or two people. What I did is I actually posted on TPS, and I also made it very much that, hey, this is a class, but I'm trying to start a second group, basically, a group that we can plug into the months that we're not doing shows, and they can get some performance experience and stuff like that. And I had like 11 or 12 people submit, which was super cool. And like I said, the classes are going really well. And we've had a few had to drop out for reasons, but for the most part, everybody's been pretty committed to it. So they're going to have their first showcase in August. Woot! But they're really talented and they're doing really well. So back to Grab Bag now. Grab Bag wasn't a bad show, but I'll be honest, I was really hyped to do the sketch show, and not doing it kind of was just like, we'll do Grab Bag, all right, And then the problem was that like Rusty and Kevin, I hadn't seen them in months. They'd had some stuff going on. Kevin had some stuff going on. And like right before we do the show, they start going into this barrage of like, and not to their fault, and I'm not knocking them for it, but like really some like sad stuff that they were talking about right before we do a show. So like it just kind of killed my mood for the show, because it was just like, I don't, I feel bad for them for what they've been going through. But it's also like I'm supposed to do a show and be all happy now, which I understand, that's being an actor. But it took a lot of us out of the show. So I've actually since then started doing post show meetings where we talk about things that went well or things that went. All talked about that. So that was good. I thought it was fine. But that's neither here nor there. Luckily, like I said last month, we did finally get to do our sketch show. We actually got to get into the space a couple times before then. To Diana's credit, who reached out and asked if we could go in there and rehearse. There's probably, we'd like to probably get in there. Diana was like, well, we'd like to have gotten a little more rehearsal. I'm like, yeah, well, things happen. Traffic jams happen. You get held up. But I thought overall the show went really well. It went smoothly. A lot of people said the same thing. And the audience was laughing at least the majority of the time. And even if they weren't laughing, they were kind of just figuring things out, I think, of where the sketches were going. So I thought it was an overall good show, and definitely something we will use to submit for Sketchfest next year. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. We're working towards our next show, which is the Sketch Off show that we did in 2019. So I need to get to work on that. So wow, we've made it, guys. We've made it to 2022. And it's only 30 minutes, so I'm going to talk for another 15 just to balance this out. Anyway... so yeah, this is where we're at. 2022 has been pretty good. I think we've made some growth. I think we're getting good about like having time for sketch shows and making sure we have that time to really make them the best they can be. So yeah, goals for the rest of this year is just continue having good shows. Get in next year to Portland, and hopefully we'll get into Seattle this year. If not next year, next year. Try to submit for SFIT, because we've never submitted for SFIT, and we have a couple long form shows on video, so why not, give it a shot. And yeah, just try to get as many fun shows, hopefully do some plays, next year as well, because we've got a couple written that we can certainly put on. We've been talking about 18th and Union and all that stuff too, so Diana's got a good connection there, and I think Josh is going to be doing a show with the group he's doing a show with in November, so open the door for that. So we're hoping to do more shows and continue. I said my class is going well. I'm looking forward to their performances and their continued growth. And so anyway, I just wanted to give I thought I'd just do a final little thing of updates on where everybody is that's been in Turbo Turkey. At least the people that were there for a while, not someone who was there for a rehearsal. So John Culver is a single dad. He's also involved in like local politics. I know he worked on Bernie Sanders' campaign and stuff like that. I've not actually gotten to see him in a long time, which is disappointing. But being a single dad, he has to manage his time well. So there's no bad feelings there, nothing like that. Good guy. Paul got married again. I actually met his fiance when she came to Dark Meat. He's actually living in Oregon now. But all good, all one on the bridge. Norm is still doing music. He doesn't do sketch or anything like that anymore, or improv, but he's still doing his music. He plays wonderful piano player, just really good. Haven't gotten to see him in a while either since before the pandemic. I think it was the last time I saw him. But we're still in good touch and all that. His birthday was a couple weeks ago. That's the original four right there. Jennifer still does shows. She hasn't done one too recently. I think she did something recently. But she's still they do these totally solid gold kind of parody shows with her and a bunch of guys. They're really funny. So she's still doing that. We're still on good terms too, so that's good. Annie I haven't heard from since she moved to Portland, I think, and we kind of just lost touch, so I don't wish any ill will. I hope she's doing all right. Ken's kind of moved around a lot. I actually don't remember where Ken is at. He's very much a traveling man, because he was in Florida with Josh, and he came out here briefly. Then he was in California. Then he kind of just travels a lot. I kind of forgot where he is right now. Ken is out there somewhere. We love you, Ken. And let's see. Lexi she went out to New York, or was it L.A.? I think she went to New York. She went to L.A. first for college, and then she went to New York. I think she's in New York right now. But yeah, she's cool. It's all good. Sophia still works on a lot of stuff. She works on a lot of like local film stuff, and that's part of her job. So all good there. Who else was in the group? Well, obviously Josh is still in the group. So Simon had moved, as I remember I mentioned. I think had moved with his. Well, it's not really. They're basically a domestic partnership. Okay? They're not married, but they basically act like they're married. And they have two kids. They have two kids that live near Boston and all that, in that area. So he's doing pretty well, and being a father. So we keep in touch a lot. We text each other a lot. So still a very good friend. See, that's that group. Then we go to the next group. Obviously, Diana's still in the group. Still, working hard to market and stuff like that. She's really good at that type of stuff, and she's a good director too. Sometimes we have to pull her back. We love her, but we have to pull back. Okay, Diana, let's pull back. But she's a good person, and I'm glad she's still involved with us and stuff. Obviously, we've talked about Michael. Cedar is still around. It's been a little while since I talked to him as well. I know he's constantly on the move too, just with different places and stuff, and working jobs and stuff. But we're always been. He came to our wedding and stuff like that too, and that was super cool. And like I said, he's always someone who pops up every once in a while. It's like, oh, there's Cedar, cool. But we always keep in touch pretty well too. I should give him a text sometime. Let's see. Stephanie, I still talk to occasionally on Facebook. Haven't really seen her in person since she did our shows and stuff, but we've never had any real qualms about it. Just is what it is. Jordy's still doing stuff as well. She's very happy. I want to say she got engaged recently to her girlfriend, so that's awesome. And she still acts around town and stuff like that. Sadly, I've never gotten to see her in a show. I always plan to, and then things come up, and I'm able to go. So I feel bad about that. Maybe someday I'll see a show, Jordy. I'll see a show. Let's see. So that's all in that group. Like I said, Jillian has moved to Tennessee now, closer to her family. She seems to be doing okay. I haven't talked to Sarah since that whole thing. Reagan, since she unfriended me. So I think Reagan's in Alabama. She got married. That's the last thing I knew about her. Mariah's still around doing film stuff. She got married to her girlfriend as well, which is cool. And then let's see, who else? Oh, Lara's in New York, and she's doing some sketch comedy herself on YouTube and on TikTok and things like that. So she seems pretty happy. She does a lot of theater out there as well, which is super cool. Robert's been in a lot of bands. I haven't seen him in a while either, but he does a lot of music and stuff, so that's working for him. I have no idea what Matt's up to. I've seen Lauren. Lauren was at Rusty and Kevin's wedding and stuff. So Lauren's fine. We get along fine. We buried the hatch a long time ago. And I know she hosts a karaoke in Federal Way too, which is cool. Like I said, I really haven't heard anything about Matt in a long time. He has never contacted me since then. So I hope he's at peace with things. I hope that he's moved on and is happy in his life. I really do. I'm being genuine with that. I hate that things got so ugly, but it is what it is. Who else? Who else is in the group, Adam? Who else is in the group? There's so many people. Draco's down in southern Washington by the Columbia River area. He actually is in the process of getting a comic book published. I know he was talking with Image, so he's still trying to wait and get that finalized. We were trying to get a chance to see him when we went down for vacation, but he wasn't able to get together, so we'll try to see him another time. Jim, last I knew, was working at UPS. He's been to a couple shows here and there, but it's been a while since I talked to Jim. Gina, last I knew, was doing stunt work in California, so she seems to be doing good. Jessica Hewitt, she just kind of moved on. I see her with her dog a lot, and she climbs mountains and does a lot of outdoor adventure stuff. Let's see who else was in the. Liza moved to California. Her dad's down there and stuff like that. So she was involved, I know, for a while with a sketch group as well. They did like weekly videos or monthly videos. So she's still doing good. I remember one time she had to describe me in Facebook, like, "Oh, put your name down here and I'll give you a description." And she said I was stressed but driven. I'm like, that's totally a good description of me, honestly. I truly am stressed but driven. I will read this. Let's see, who else? Who else was in the group? Okay, they left. Then we got Jag is still with the group. Alex is still with the group unofficially. He's out right now because he has a baby at home. But he's obviously on good terms. Let's see. James has stepped away. He's doing a lot of theater and stuff like that. He's working at a bank, but we just saw him. We're on great terms. He's obviously married as well, happily married as well. Who else was in? Oh, Jessica and Donnie both moved to California. Donnie's doing stuff. He does some video stuff occasionally, and he's doing a lot of workshops and classes down there, and trying to get involved in the film stuff. Jessica just got married recently as well, so awesome for her. And I remember, cause it's the same guy she was dating when she was with us, so good for her, and congrats to her, of course. Let's see. There's so many people that have been in Turbo Turkey. Oh my God! I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Let's see. Like I said, Abby has had a couple kids. She still does things here and there, as I can see. Then Helen Tang, she moved to Alaska. Last time I talked to her, I sent happy birthday message and she said thank you and stuff like that. But I know she had moved to Alaska right before our wedding. And let me rant about my wedding for a minute. Not a big rant. The wedding was great. The photographer sucks though, because originally Helen was gonna be a photographer for us. I know this doesn't have to do with Turbo Turkey, but I don't care. It's my video. Originally she was gonna, but then her boyfriend had an accident, and so she had to go to Alaska. And so we got this other guy that was recommended by a friend, and then he took our pictures, and they would probably be great, but he never gave us the damn pictures. We still waiting on our goddamn wedding pictures. So luckily Rusty had taken some, so we at least have some. But it's just frustrating because I was all the pictures with my family and Anna's family and my groomsmen and all that. We have no pictures of that at all. So very frustrating. So if you're out there and you took pictures at our wedding, we want our pictures. Anyway, thank you. Let's see who else. As far as I know, Christina had left during the pandemic. She moved out to California. That's the last I heard of her. Same with Zoe. She's out there somewhere. The other Zoe, who was with us for a while, she's working at a theater, I think, right now. So she's doing a lot of she's also doing some class stuff, sketch class stuff. So good for her. She was doing clowning school before the pandemic. Yeah, she's super cool. Josie's kind of just hanging tight because Josie's older and stuff like that. So she's been kind of staying more near her home area and trying to stay away from pandemic stuff, which is totally fair. But we certainly wish her well. And I think that's just about everybody recently. I haven't talked to Pearl since she left. And yeah, I think that's everybody. If I missed someone, please call me out in the video and say, Adam, why didn't you acknowledge me? So anyway, this has been the Turbo Turkey story for now. Maybe I'll get back on another time after the year's over and continue it at some point. But that's basically where we got to. So what have I learned? I've learned to make sure that we write great parts for women as well as guys. I've learned to listen a little bit more, learn to be patient, learn to make sure everybody's getting their voice heard. You know, I've tried to balance out stage time for everybody so it doesn't feel like one person's in everything. So I think I've grown a lot since I started, way back at Stone Soup. I've learned a lot of mistakes along the way. And yeah, so I'm happy we're still kicking though. And I'm happy and grateful for the friendships that I've made through Turbo Turkey, between the plays and the sketch stuff and improv stuff. And I just hope that we continue to grow and that maybe you'll come out and see a show. We got one on July 24th in Jewel Box. Come check out some sketch. Cool. All right, guys, that is going to wrap up the Turbo Turkey videos. As I said, I might do something else, some other type of story sometime. Maybe talk about college, talk about how me and Anna met and all that stuff at some point. But this wraps up the Turbo Turkey stuff, guys. Holy crap, we've gotten there. We've gotten there. 10 parts, by God. All right, it's 50 minutes now, so I'm going to shut the hell up and finish my muffin. Have a great day, guys.